Hare Krishna, all of you should take turns to recite invocation prayers. Would any one of you like to lead the invocation prayers today? Even if you have to look up from the book and recite.
Yes, Prabhuji, I'd
Good,
like to.
good.
Just a minute. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुරු श्रीयुतपादकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगान् रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनं सहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगान् ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यः एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming to read and discuss practical aspects so that we all can practice spirituality. This way, we can soon live as a soul in this material world. Today, we'll discuss inquiries submitted by you all on Canto 1, chapters 16 and 17. Thank you for continuing to shower your mercy on me. Your inquiries are your mercy on me. Because of your inquiries, I get to research so many topics and speak Krishna Katha. Thank you. Question number 1. In modern global democracy, we value leaders based on merit and the will of people rather than birthright or Brahminical culture. How can we practically apply the Vedic standard of Varna to modern governance without it becoming a discriminatory system? So the symptom of Kali Yuga is that Shudras will be administrators and sitting in management positions. Therefore, there is mismanagement and chaos all over the world. The Varna and Ashram system created by Krishna based on guna and karma does not exist anymore. Leaders of the world have no inclination for spirituality. So in Srimad Bhagavatam 3.21.54, although there are series of verses 52, 53, 54, it explains that Varna and Ashram created by Krishna does not exist anymore. But because this division was created by Krishna, hence this will continue to exist even in the degraded form, just as, say, sometimes the sun is covered by clouds. So let's read translation and purport for 321.54. I will bring up on screen. So I have on screen 3:21, 52 to 54. Path Prabhu will read translation and purport. Path Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Sorry, I omitted to unmute. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Translation: If you did not mount your victorious jewel chariot, whose mere presence threatens culprits, if you did not produce fire sounds by twanging of your bow, and if you did not roam about the world like the brilliant sun, leading a huge army whose trampling feet cause the globe of the earth to tremble, then all the moral laws governing the varnas and asramas created by the Lord Himself would be broken by the rogue and rascals. Purport: It is the duty of a responsible king to protect the social and spiritual orders in human society. The spiritual orders are divided into four ashramas: Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Banprastha, and Sannyasa. And the social orders, according to work and qualification, are made up of the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and Shudras. These social orders, according to the different grades of work and qualification, are described in Bhagavad Gita. Unfortunately, for want of proper protection by responsible kings, the system of social and spiritual order has now become a hereditary caste system. But this is not the actual system. Human society means that society which is making progress towards spiritual realization. The most advanced human society was known as Arjo. Arya refers to those who are advancing. So the question is, which society is advancing? Advancement does not mean creating material necessities unnecessarily and thus wasting human energy in aggravation over so-called material comforts. Real advancement is advancement towards spiritual realization, and the community which acted towards this end was known as the Aryan civilization.
Continue.
Just the intelligent men, the Brahmanas, as exemplified by Kardama, Kardama Muni, were engaged in advancing the spiritual cause, and Kshatriyas like Emperor Swayambhuva used to rule the country and ensure that all facilities for spiritual realization were nicely provided. It is the duty of the king to travel all over the country and see that everything is in order. Indian civilization, on the basis of the four varnas and asramas, deteriorated because of our dependency on foreigners or those who did not follow the civilization of varnasramas. Thus, the varnasrama system has now been degraded into the caste system. The institution of four varnas and four asramas is confirmed herewith to be Bhagavat Rashita, which means designed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita, this is also confirmed. Chotur Varna Mayasrastam. The Lord says that the institution of four Varnas and four ashramas is created by me. Anything created by the Lord cannot be closed or covered. The division of Varnas and ashramas will continue to exist, either in their original form or in the degraded form. But because they are created by the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they cannot be extinguished. They are like the sun, a creation of God, and therefore will remain. either covered by clouds or in a clear sky. The sun will continue to exist. Similarly, when the Varnasrama system becomes degraded, it appears as a hereditary caste system. But in every society, there is an intelligent class of men, a material class, a mercantile class, and a laborer class. When they are regulated for cooperation among communities according to the Vedic principles, then there is peace and spiritual advancement. But when there is hatred and malpractice and mutual mistrust in the caste system, the whole system becomes degraded, and as stated herein, it creates a deplorable state. At the present moment, the entire world is in this deplorable condition because of giving rights to so many interests. This is due to the degradation of the four castes of Varnas and Ashramas. Hare Krishna.
Right at the present moment, the world is in a very precarious condition. And it is all because of degradation, because of the four varnas and system not existing anymore. The way they were created. So we cannot change this in terms of what is going on in the world. Prabhupada explains in another part of Bhagavatam that devotees should chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra for the benefit of all. We cannot change what is going on in the world. It's impossible for us to change. Does that help with the inquiry, number one? All right, question number two. Yeah, Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. My follow-up query is, this system will not be revived until this age is over, no?
You are
Kali.
correct. You are correct that in Kali Yuga, the Varnashram will stay in the degraded form. It's when the next Satyug will start, is when things will again become proper.
All right. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Understood.
Question number two. Does Mother Earth ever get to meet Krishna in his spiritual abode Goloka Vrindavan? Or does she have to go through the suffering of being separated from him as a service? So we have discussed this multiple times that Srimad Bhagavatam 3.29.13 describes that devotees are not interested in any of the five kinds of liberation if there is no service. So devotees are interested in service because service means you are in direct contact with Krishna. So Mother Earth is continuing to serve. In Bhagavatam Canto 4, Mother Earth has interaction with Prithu Maharaj. Prithu Maharaj is incarnation of Krishna himself for services. Of course, Prithu Maharaj goes on to chastise Mother Earth very badly. Does that help with the inquiry? Question number 3. 1.16.7. Somebody has a question.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I was just wondering, just like we have positions for demigod, do we also have positions for Mother Earth?
Positions as in?
I mean, demigod is position and souls keep changing for demigod's position like Indra Chandra. So similarly, is that how Mother Earth is also a soul and then like it's a position?
This point is not mentioned anywhere in Bhagavatam, so I will not speculate. Just as for Durga Devi also, there is no mention whether Durga Devi keeps changing. Other demigods, yes, is mentioned everywhere that they keep changing its position. For Mother Earth, there is no mention, so I will not speculate on that part. So,
Okay, Prabhuji. So Mother Earth gets to meet Krishna only when he decides to descend on this earth, right?
correct.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Question number 3 from Bhagavatam 1.16.7. Why did the sages have to call on Yamraj to the sacrifice at Naimisharanya? Why did they want to please him? Pure devotees usually do not engage in pleasing anyone and are also not scared of death. So, what was the need? Srimad Bhagavatam 1.16.7, we'll soon read. The point of the verse is that Yamraj does not spare anyone's life. Yamraj does not give even a moment more of life to anyone. So Srimad Bhagavatam 1.16.7 says that those men desiring freedom from death invited Yamraj. So at Naimisharanya, when the sages have assembled, there were mix of sages. They were not all pure. So those who were having this fear and they wanting freedom from death, they invited Yamraj. But then the purport goes on to state that Yamraj does not spare anyone's life. I'll bring up on screen. We'll read 116.7 translation and purport. Kunal Prabhu will read. Kunal.
Yeah, Prabhu. Oh, Sutta Goswami, there are those amongst men who desire freedom from death and get eternal life. They escape the slaughtering process by calling the controller of death, Yamraj.
Right. So the translation itself says that those desiring freedom from death, they invited Yamaraj, not pure. They are not pure devotees. Continue, purport.
Purport. The living entity, as he develops from lower animal life to higher human being and gradually to higher intelligence, becomes anxious to get free from the clutches of death. Modern scientists try to avoid death by physiochemical advancement of knowledge, but alas, the controller of death, Yamraj, is so cruel that he does not spare even the very life of the scientist himself. The scientist who puts forward the theory of stopping death by advancement of scientific knowledge becomes himself a victim of death when he is called by Yamraj. What to speak of stopping the death? No one can enhance the short period of life even by fraction of a moment. The only hope of suspending the cruel slaughtering process of Yamraj is to call him to hear and chant the holy name of the Lord. Yamraj is a great devotee of the Lord and he likes to be invited to kirtans and sacrifices by the pure devotees, who are constantly engaged in devotional service of the Lord. Thus, the great sages headed by Shaunaka and others invited Yamraj to attend the sacrifice performed at Naimisharanya. This was good for those who did not want to die. Hare Krishna.
Right. So Yamraj does not spare anyone. Right. He says he does not spare anyone. And then he says Yamraj is actually pure devotee. He likes to hear and chant, and therefore he was invited for chanting, or hearing the chanting and glories of the Lord. Does that answer the inquiry? Shivaji.
Prabhuji, I want to ask one question. So, like one of the devotees told me that like his father was suffering, and then they did chanting of Hare Krishna, and he survived. So I was just thinking, like, if had I known at my point of time, maybe I would have saved somebody in my family. But I
So
didn't know at that point of time.
yeah, you can do it from this point on. You are correct that chanting helps. Now, this does not mean that you will extend the life. Somebody is suffering, they will get relief from the suffering. The lifespan is what it is. Shivaji.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you so much.
All right. Question number 4. Did meat eating not exist before Kali Yuga? If it did, then were the people punished? So material world is faulty. The degree of fault is different in different yugas. Kali Yuga has more faults. Although in the upcoming lecture that you're going to listen, you will hear a very important point about the auspiciousness of Kali Yuga. You'll be surprised with that discussion in next lecture that I'm going to post after end of our class today. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 21, about Prithu Maharaj explains that when Prithu Maharaj was addressing the citizens in the assembly, there were atheists also. So Prithu Maharaj is an incarnation of Krishna as Shakti Avesha Avatar. And even back then, is Satyug time, there were atheists. So all faults, including meat eating, exist forever in lesser or greater degrees. And anyone not following the laws of nature in any of the yugas, they get punished appropriately. Does that answer the inquiry? Question number 5. I'm not trying to justify meat eating, but diet of any civilization is largely dependent on geography and socio-economic position. Say the tribals, for instance, eat meat and insects for survival. Chandals are too poor. And similarly, people in mountain or desert may live on both vegetables and meat as per what is available. So even though this is a condemnable act, for some, there may be no choice. So in scriptures, the example of hog comes quite frequently. Now, we know that each body will function according to the way the nature is built in the body. Now, therefore, someone may say that why are you condemning hog? According to the nature of hog hog is destined to eat stool and live in filthy place. So why are you condemning hog? That's the nature given to the hog. And one time, Indra became a hog. Brahmaji came to get him back in his position as king of heaven. And Indra in the hog body responded to Brahmaji that no, I am quite happy eating stool. So with all this, the point is the choice that those in lower consciousness, whether in animal or human body living like an animal, they make choices that are not appropriate. Now, even in mountains, forests, etc., there will be fruit trees. So why do you have to eat meat? So they eat meat because that's the wrong choice they make. So we'll read Srimad Bhagavatam 2.2 verses 4 and 5 translations that Sukadeva Goswami actually speaks this verse sarcastically and angrily that have trees stopped giving fruit? So let's read 2.2, 4 and 5 translations I have on the screen. Padma Kumar, 4 and 5 translation.
When there are ample earthly flats to lie on, what is the necessity of cots and beds? When one can use his own arms, what is the necessity of a pillow? When one can use the palms of his hands, what is the necessity of varieties of utensils? When there is ample covering or the skin of tree, what is the necessity of clothing? Are there no torn clothes lying on the common road? Do the trees which exist for maintaining others no longer give alms in charity? Do the rivers, being dried up, no longer supply water to the thirsty? Are the caves of the mountain now closed? Or above all, does the Almighty Lord not protect the fully surrounded souls? Why then do the learned sages go to flatter those who are intoxicated by hard-earned wealth? Hare Krishna.
Right, so the verse clearly says that have the trees stopped giving fruits? And you will soon hear the recording, this upcoming recording for you very, very soon, that these verses are for sannyasi. So we all as grahastha, we cannot say, well, why do I need a pillow? Well, no, grahastha has to live like a grahastha. It's for a sannyasi. So you'll hear the discussion. I'm not getting into the discussion of these verses. These are heavy verses. Point I'm trying to make is that choice that these people do not make proper choice and they find an excuse. Well, I will eat meat. No, you don't have to. Does that answer the inquiry? Shivanji?
Prabhuji, I would like to add, or I don't know, maybe ask. I think we should strive to be less greedy.
You're absolutely correct. So in Upanishad, this analogy is explained, the Ishavasha principle. So in batch 3 and 4, Upanishad revision is coming up very, very soon. You all can attend for those who have completed Upanishad study. Example is given that if there is a bag of rice or whatever sitting in the middle of the road, a bird will come, take few grains of rice and go away and be satisfied. But a human comes, he will hoard the whole bag for himself. And this hoarding is what causes scarcity in the world. Actually, there is no such thing as scarcity. Krishna has provided for everything for everyone. But humans are artificially creating scarcity. So absolutely correct that we have to live a simple life and then we'll be happy. Follow me.
Prabhuji, what if someone is a devotee but who's terminally ill and they have been prescribed a special diet because of this? Is that something like that?
So diet you can change. Even though you are ill, there is no need to eat meat. You can eat vegetable items. Now, medications is understandable. So very recently, a devotee asked this question to my Guru Maharaj. He said that somebody in the family is terminally ill and the only medication that they can take contains, I don't remember what it contains. They said either meat or some fish product. I can't remember what exactly was the issue. But basically, it was something not recommended to eat. So my Guru Maharaj, this is my Guru Maharaj's response that for medications, if there is no other alternative, you take that medication so that you can recover because you are not taking it forever. But there is no need for you to eat meat even if you are sick. And I'll tell you this live example that one of my god brother from here in Toronto, he was seriously ill and he was admitted to hospital. So the day I went to see him in the hospital came with food for him and that contained meat. So I said, now he is a devotee, he's initiated devotee. And I said, why are you giving him meat? He is not supposed to eat meat. Now the devotee was in real bad situation that he wasn't aware what was going on. So I said, I put the meat back out. I said, no, he cannot eat this. Of course, on that day, we had carried prasad for him. So he anyway did not have to eat that particular thing on that particular day. But I went and made a note in his file to the nurse. I said, no, he cannot eat meat. He has to eat pure vegetarian items. Medications is understandable. But the devotee was in such a distress condition that he was not aware what somebody was feeding him. So somebody else had to take care of that part, which I went and made a note in his file that no, he cannot eat meat. He should only eat vegetarian item. But then the nurse said, well, no, he needs. I said, no, he does not eat meat, period. If he needs some medication to replenish what is deficient in his body, yeah, you can give him that. But items that you can eat, you have alternatives. And even I'll give you my own example that I have to take medication, which generally contains meat. So I went and searched. I had to do a lot of research. And then I found alternative medication, the same medication which is available without meat. So I consume the medication without meat. So when the doctor prescribed me, and between the time I found the alternative, I did not take that medication that the doctor told me. Of course, situation is different that it was not such a grave that I need to take medication right away. So you cannot find excuses. You have to first find alternatives. So my Guru Maharaj clearly said that if there is no alternative for the medication that contains meat-like items, then yes, take that medication because it's only for you to recover from that time. But your diet, by all means you should change. There is absolutely no need to eat meat, no matter how sick one person is. Follow me?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, another question, please. Is that I have like friends and cousins who are they like this path and slowly they are getting attracted. So they at times are in company of people or in such workplaces where they are alone without devotee association and they have started the journey. Is it better that they focus on the japa first? And because if they suddenly change the diet, if I tell them, then it will become very stringent for them. Start japa and get devotee association and then leave the meat, or should I immediately tell them that leave meat, leave coffee, leave this, that? What do you suggest?
So yes, definitely start with japa. You give them prasad every time you meet with them or interact with them. But meat eating has to be among the initial items to stop.
Okay.
Because unless you have compassion for somebody else, you will not be able to progress. So your point is absolutely correct that if you try to drastically change them, then they will run away. So yes, give them to chant japa, you give them prasadam every time you interact with them. Simultaneously, explain to them this very first point that you don't force them to change. You explain them that we are all souls. And why are you killing your sibling in the animal body? And I can send you Chetran Chanda's lecture on this point. It's an extract from a longer lecture where he explains this, that say historically somebody will say, well, I've been eating meat because my family, parents, grandparents, everybody eats meat. So what's the point? I will also continue. So you explain to them that just because something is going on in tradition does not have to continue, because you see what is involved. It involves killing animals. And in the lecture, I can actually play right now for the benefit of everyone. In the lecture, Chetran Chandas explains that, say, in a school, the teacher announces that tomorrow the school will take everyone to a slaughterhouse. And the parents will go, what? You're taking my kid to a slaughterhouse? I don't want them to see slaughterhouse. Whether or not the parents eat meat. But if the school announces, oh, tomorrow we're going to go to a farm, it's celebration. So what Prabhupada has explained for meat eating to stop, Prabhupada said that people who are eating meat, they don't send their kids to slaughterhouse because they say it's a crematorium, but they themselves eat meat. So Prabhupada said, if you want to stop meat eating, then let people kill the animal by themselves to eat, because it will be very difficult for them to kill the animal and they will end up not eating meat. So for the benefit of all, let me play this short lecture of Chetan Chandas, which he explains that do not kill animals for tongue's taste, because animals also have feelings like humans. And he goes on to explain what we have discussed in chapter 16, that fashion, tradition, you cannot live with fashion and tradition. He explains the 4 points we have discussed: fashion, tradition, logic, and mind or mental or our desires. They are like moving lighthouses. No, scriptures are steady lighthouses. So let me play. It's a very important point that it's not just follow me. Many meet people in the world who are meat eaters. So how do you explain? And this lecture extract of Chetan Chandas hits the point very nicely. Let's hear and we'll discuss.
तस्मात् शास्त्रं प्रमाणं ते कार्याकार्यव्यवस्थितं ज्ञात्वा शास्त्रविधानोक्तं कर्म कर्तुम् इहार्हसि. So tasmat shastram pramanam te. So therefore, according to Shastra Praman, according to the decision scriptures we have made, Shastra Praman. So karya akarya vyavastito. So properly decided properly what is karya, what is to be done, and what is akarya, that is not to be done, which is forbidden. Vyavastito. One understands it, determines it properly, and then Gyatva Shastra Vidhanoktam. After understanding this, after knowing what is Shastra, Vidhan Uktam, what is spoken in Shastra, Karma Kartum, that one acts accordingly. Iharhasi, Arhasi, that means it behooves you, it befits you to act accordingly, according to scripture. So now let's try to understand why it is so important to act according to scripture. So actually, so we'll come back to the others also. So guidance for choosing our actions. People generally act according to these four things: the mood, the logic, fashion, and tradition. So let's look at all of them one by one. Fashion means mood, logic, fashion, tradition. Fashion means, all of us do it. Everyone is doing it, everyone is doing it. So for example, why some people have said, as I said yesterday, our blonde hair. So one film star gets a blonde hair, and then everybody wants to have blonde hair. Or somebody wears high heel sandals, everybody says, I want to wear high heel sandals. Somebody wears a particular kind of jacket, everybody wants to wear that kind of jacket. So one person does, second person does, third person does, so everyone does it. So fashion means everyone has done it, so we will do it. So actually, fashions are one of the most misleading and incorrect ways of deciding our actions. Because fashions have no basis in truth or reality. They are just trends which come and go. And then when we live according to fashions, then we are just becoming like leaves. Whichever way the wind is blowing, we just get blown in that way. And we won't attain any destination by that. Now that doesn't mean that a devotee has to defiantly reject all fashions. The point is the devotee has to have some direction in life. And it's not that deliberately devotee has to be unfashionable, to be unpopular. That's not the point. The point is the devotee has to recognize that fashion cannot be the parameter by which I decide what I should do in my life. Then second can be tradition. So fashion means everybody is doing it currently. Tradition means, we have always done it. We have always done it. So when people think, that's how we have acted, that's why we should do it. Now the tradition itself is not necessarily a parameter of truth, because there can be so many traditions which are wrong. For example, in much of the Western world, for much of the recent historical memory, people have eaten meat. So then what the idea comes up is that, why do we eat meat? We've always done it. Our parents have eaten it, our grandparents have eaten it, our great-grandparents have eaten it. That's why we eat meat. Now the question comes up, whether we eat meat or not, whether our grandparents have eaten meat or not, what does meat eating involve? It involves killing animals. So the animals, they have life like us. They have consciousness like us. They feel maybe not as developed as ours, but the consciousness more or less similar. When say a cow embraces a cow, hugs and cuddles a calf in its own way, or a kitten is hugged and cuddled by a cat. That is that love. Puppy is held by its mother dog, and actually that love is very much like a maternal love, very similar to human maternal love. So they have emotions like us, and they suffer terribly when they kill them. So just because somebody is doing it, and his ancestors have been doing it, that doesn't make it right. Some non-vegetarians say that even animal, birds, even plants, when we kill them, there is suffering over there. So what's wrong with this? Actually, yes, even in plants killing there is pain, and that's why just be vegetarian is not enough. We have to take prasad. But apart from that also, um, it's not safe. No, there is scientifically, intuitively, and behaviorally, we know there is a difference. Scientifically, the extent of pain that is experienced differs based on how much the nervous system is developed. The plants don't have as much developed nervous system as animals have. That's why they suffer much lesser pain. So a sensitive human being would want to cause as less pain as possible. And intuitively, we all know, there is. If somebody goes to a slaughterhouse, then there are screams and there is blood. It's a ghastly scene over there. Whereas if you go to a farm where harvesting is happening, it's a mood of celebration. There is no mood like a crematorium over there. It's a mood of celebration. People are singing, and another point is that the crops, they are going to fall anyway. If they are not harvested, they will get wasted. So it's a mood of celebration and jubilation over there, emotionally. And then behaviorally, if parents are told, the school dynamics announces, tomorrow we are going to take your children for experiential learning session, so we will take them to a farm where harvesting is going to happen. How many parents will object? And at the best, or tomorrow we will experiential learning, we are going to take your children to slaughterhouse. How many parents will allow? So we know it. From our behavior also we know it. So basic point now is, we are not talking about vegetarian, non-vegetarian. We are talking simply about the point that just because something has been done in a tradition doesn't make it right. So tradition alone is not the criteria for deciding what is right or wrong, nor is fashion. And third could be movement.
All right. Does that answer?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Everybody on the same page? A very important point. You all will someday encounter meat eaters. Does the Chetarchanda's short extract give you all the ammunition you need to transform meat eaters?
Yes, Prabhuji.
The debate with eaters are always difficult, but I think we could certainly use some of the points from here on trends.
Yeah, you are correct. It's always difficult. You are correct. We can only try, right? We are not going there to transform them. We'll stay away from 3.27. Karta ahamiti manyate. No, we'll just do our duty. Prabhupada says in Canto 4 that our duty is to preach, and whether or not they listen, we still preach. Now, if you know that people are not going to listen, therefore we will stop preaching, well, then we get implicated with the sins that the other people are committing. But if we preach, whether or not they change is secondary. If we preach properly to them, then at least we are protected.
Yes, Prabhuji. For some difficult people, I've stopped trying because the debate goes on in the wrong direction. But I think we could start like with the basics for those people.
Yeah. Yeah,
Thank you.
you are correct that you try, and Sumnima, you are absolutely correct that if the discussion goes off track and you know that it's now a waste of time, well, then go and help somebody else, because you recognize that that particular soul is not ripe. Leave him there. There are so many other ripe souls where your time is more appropriately spent. You can bring other souls closer to Krishna. Yes, you tried your best, but if somebody is adamant, well, then let them.
Prabhuji, at that time, should our thought be like that soul is not ready for getting, mercy of Krishna yet? Like that, something like that.
Yeah, you are correct that they are still having to go through their karmic cycle and the suffering and exhaust their karma, yeah, you can continue to give them prasadam and just don't waste time of interacting. You can spend your time better on ripe souls, right? My Guru Maharaj gives the example that if you go to pluck a mango from a tree, you will pluck the low-hanging fruit or the fruit that is yellow, means it's ripe. And a mango which is green, if you try to pluck that mango, you will break the whole branch. And the mango will anyway not get any further help because it will not get ripe once you break it from the tree. So the best for the green mango, unripe green mango, is to stay on the tree, to get cooked in the sun. So that's why you try your best. This does not mean you should not try. You try your best to transform anyone, but once you realize that this discussion is going in circles, then you give them prasadam, say Hare Krishna, and move on to ripe mangoes where you can bring them closer to Krishna.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Very good. Question number 6. It is stated that Brahmanas are restricted from becoming administrators. Chanakya Pandit, the learned Brahmana, was an able administrator to Chandragupta Maurya. So there may be good examples and exceptions also. So we'll read 116.1 Bhagavatam, that 116.1 lists characteristics of advisors to the king, that advisors to advise based on scriptures, how to execute the state administration. Advisors should follow instructions left in Vedic literature, which are suitable for all ages and suitable for all living beings, including animals, and all these instructions in Vedic literature are without any flaw. Instead of what is going on every day, new legislation is getting enacted, and then next day they conveniently alter it again and again and again. So advisors have to be either great sages or brahmanas of first order. Advisors are not supposed to accept salary for providing advice. An advisor should be samadarshina, that they should be equal to men and animals. So advisors, meaning these brahmanas, would not give advice to protect humans and simultaneously kill animals. No, they will not. So these advisors should be self-realized souls, and they should know that the living beings will be happy by becoming a devotee. So the point is that brahmanas should be advisors without salary. Brahmanas should not be direct administrators taking salary. So let's read. I'll bring up on screen 1.16.1. We'll read the purport. Priyanka will read.
At the time of Maharaj Parikshit's birth, the expert astrologer Brahmanas foretold some of his qualities. Maharaj Parikshit developed all those qualities, being a great devotee of the Lord. The real qualification is to become a devotee of the Lord, and gradually all the good qualities worthy of possession develop. Maharaj Parikshit was a Mahabhagavat, or a first-class devotee, who was not only well-versed in the science of devotion, but also able to convert others to become devotees by his transcendental instructions. Maharaj Parikshit was therefore a devotee of the first order, and thus he used to consult great sages and learned brahmanas who could advise him by the Shastras how to execute the state administration. Such great kings were more responsible than modern elected executive heads because they obliged the great authorities by following their instructions left in Vedic literatures. There was no need for impractical fools to enact daily a new legislative bill and to conveniently alter it again and again to serve some purpose. The rules and regulations were already set forth by the great sages like Manu, Yajnavalkya, Parashara, and other liberated sages, and the enactments were all suitable for all ages in all places. Therefore, the rules and regulations were standard and without flaw or defect. Kings like Maharaj Parikshit had their council of advisors, and all the members of that council were either great sages or brahmanas of the first order. They did not accept any salary, nor they had any necessity for such salaries. The state would get the best advice without expenditure. They were themselves samadarshi, equal to everyone, both man and animal. They would not advise a king to give protection to man and instruct him to kill the poor animals. Such council members were not fools or representatives to compose a fool's paradise. They were all self realized souls, and they knew perfectly well how all living beings in the state would be happy, both in this life and in the next. They were not concerned with the hedonistic philosophy of eat, drink, be merry, and enjoy. They were philosophers in the real sense, and they knew well what is the mission of human life. Under all these obligations, the advisory council of the king would give correct directions, and the king or executive head, being himself a qualified devotee of the Lord, would scrutinizingly follow them for the welfare of the state. The state in the days of Maharaj Yudhishthir or Maharaj Parikshit was a welfare state in the real sense of the term because no one was unhappy in that state, be he man or animal. Parikshit Maharaj was an ideal king for the welfare state of the world. Hare Krishna.
Right, so the brahmanas, the sages, gave advice without salaries, right? That's the key point. It's not that the brahmanas are themselves administrators. Brahmanas don't need to be administrators. They need to be advisors and give advice based on scriptures. Scriptures are equal to all. And therefore, these advisors, they are samadarshina, equal to men and animals. They will not kill the poor animals. Right? So that's the point. That yes, be advisors, don't take salary, and don't be direct administrators. Does that help with the inquiry? Question number 7. Reading some of the purports in Canto 1, Chapter 17 made me a bit disturbed. Are people in India using this to justify killing people who are eating cows? Is this correct? When we live in a society where people have different faiths and we ourselves have contaminated mind, so who are we to make such decisions? So devotees do not hurt anyone. Devotees are never violent. It is just that in the material world, one materialistic person is using his concocted idea to hurt another materialistic person. So no one can create laws for his own benefit. We just read. So we have discussed in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, the last 2 verses, Shastram Vidin. So the lecture that we heard from Chaitanya Chandas, he was also reciting the chapter 16 ending verses. Shastram Vidin means that follow scriptures. Don't make up your own rules. So in Srimad Bhagavatam also, Yudhishthir followed the infallible laws of Krishna. Krishna's laws are equal for all. Therefore, animals were treated as equal citizens. So you have to understand, it's not that devotees are hurting people. No, devotees will never hurt. It's just that one materialistic people is fighting with other who have, both of them have no knowledge. Does that help with the inquiry? All right. Question number 8. Isn't naming one's perpetrator important in situations of extreme crime or when one is wrongfully implicated? Accepting our sufferings as our bad karma is understandable. But won't we be doing the incorrect thing if we do not make the perpetrator understand the action of his consequence so that he can transform in the future? So you heard in the last recording, and the discussion will continue in the upcoming recording also, that Dharma personified is teaching us not to identify the perpetrator. And in upcoming class recording on Canto 3, Chapter 1, you will hear my personal example on the perpetrator. So generally, on a day-to-day basis, try not to name the perpetrators. In extreme situations of crime against you, my first point is that first, do not be in that situation to begin with. And when required by law to identify those who have committed serious crime against you, first remember this discussion from Canto 1, Chapter 17, that without Krishna's sanction, no one can hurt me. And it is my own bad karma that is coming back to me. The other person is just an instrument. In terms of you wanting to make the other person understand of his action, I'm not sure if the person committing such grievous crime would be ready to listen to scriptural guidance. And not sure if I am qualified to give advice in a situation because I am somehow involved in that crime, right? So although it's an hypothetical situation, but recognize the person committing the crime is not ready to listen. And you have a bias unless you are Samadarshina. So this jumbled response is that it is not black and white. You have to judge according to situation. In extreme crimes, situation against you, first, do not be involved in such crime, even if it is against you, if possible. Then first, remember Krishna. Now, here is my Pratyaksha Praman response, which is not there in scriptures, that yes, you go and identify the person who has committed serious crime against you when it is asked by law. But this is my Pratyaksha Praman. Right? Scriptures do not say this. So the discussion about identifying perpetrator is coming up in a very, very heavy discussion in Canto 3, Chapter 1. So Canto 1 is going to end very soon in the next two classes. Canto 2 is very short. It's about 10 or 15 classes. And then Canto 3 will take a very long time. So that Canto 3, Chapter 1 is coming up very soon, where an actual example of what I did for a perpetrator is coming up. So it's a long discussion I don't want to discuss right now. I'm hoping this helps my jumbled response. Kunal has a question.
Yeah, probably if we don't identify and punish the perpetrator, then they will keep on doing the same thing. Even Krishna kind of killed the Kauravas like, because they did wrong against the Pandavas. So then I think this is kind of contradictory, right? Don't do
But
anything and then Krishna is killing.
did Krishna kill them on day one?
No, I mean, obviously, ultimately, they did not improve.
Yeah,
Then
ultimately,
they were killed.
exactly, you answered, right? Krishna gave them so many choices, right? And first, of course, from the Mahabharata, is the learning is how to tolerate that Pandavas tolerated so much, but then it became beyond a point, and even then, Krishna went as Shanti Doot to say, just give the Pandavas 5 villages. They are Kshatriyas, they are kings, so they have to rule. They cannot live like an ordinary person. Just give them 5 villages and you can take rest of everything. But Duryodhan would not change. That's when Krishna says, now you are responsible for the war. So the point about Kunal Prabhu's points is that don't use identifying perpetrator or killing perpetrator as your first option in the name that they should learn, they should change. Well, first you have to judge for yourself. Are you capable of changing anyone? So don't use this as an excuse. Don't use this as your first option to identify perpetrator that I will convince them to change. Yeah, you can use identifying perpetrator as a first option when you are Samadarshina, when you are equal. Like Krishna being Supreme Personality of Godhead, still he did not use this as option number one. This was absolute last option. War is absolute last option. And even Prahlad Maharaj, he did not argue against his atrocious father. And even when Prahlad Maharaj is killing Hiranyakashipu, Prahlad Maharaj is saying, oh, forgive my father. And of course, because of Prahlad Maharaj, Hiranyakashipu got delivered. And same way, because of Prithu Maharaj, his father Vena, the atrocious Vena, also got delivered. So the point I'm trying to make is in that jumbled response for this inquiry number 8 is that don't use this as option number one. Everybody on the same page? Kunal, does that help you?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Shivanji.
So Prabhuji, like you mentioned, like how Krishna said, like he asked for 5 villages because they had to rule, like that was their dharma. So what you are mentioning is that in real world, like there's so much politics going on at workplace, and it could be in any sector, like even starting from a small retail to a big companies. So like should we settle for something less and become less greedy rather than like fighting for the big thing because we cannot like control all the politics that is going on. We can't do everything
So, so,
single-handedly.
so your point is different than the inquiry about perpetrator. Your point is about people in the material world who are mischief mongers. Do we stand up against them? And there's a direct verse, 4:11:31, I think, where Prabhupada says that against mischief mongers in the material world, devotee should become angry just to drive away the mischief mongers. So we'll soon read this verse 4.11.31, where Prabhupada says that anger is very detrimental. Yes, we understand that part. So do not become angry. But this does not mean that devotee should not become angry against mischief mongers. And Prabhupada says that devotee should become angry just to drive away the mischief mongers. You are not angry per se in terms of losing your temper. You are just becoming angry to drive away the mischief mongers. And Prabhupada gives the example of a snake where Narad Muni says to the snake that show your hood, just don't bite. So there's a very important verse, 4.11.31. This is about Dhruv Maharaj. Dhruv Maharaj is a pure devotee already when this verse is happening. And Prabhupada is saying Dhruv Maharaj getting angry on the yakshas is actually correct. So how can you understand that a pure devotee getting angry and Prabhupada is saying that is correct, and Prabhupada goes on to explain that just to drive away the mischief monger. So let's read 4.11.31, translation and purport. Sumnima.
Hare Krishna translation. My dear king, just consider what I've said to you which will act as medicinal treatment upon disease. Control your anger, for anger is the foremost enemy on the path of spiritual realization. I wish all good fortune for you. Please allow my instruction. Purport. Dhruv Maharaj was liberated soul, and actually he was not angry with anyone. But because he was the ruler, it was his duty to become angry for some time in order to keep law and order in the state. His brother Uttama was without fault, yet he killed by one of the yakshas. Yet he was killed by one of the yakshas. It was the duty of Dhruv Maharaj to kill the offender life for life because Dhruv was the king. When the challenge came through, Maharaj fought vehemently and punished the yakshas sufficiently. But anger is such that if one increases it, it increases unlimitedly. In order that through Maharaj's kingly anger not exceed the limit, Manu was kind enough to check his grandson. Dhruv Maharaj could understand the purpose of his grandfather and he immediately stopped the fighting. The word Shrutena Pushya by constantly hearing, which are important in this verse. By constantly hearing about devotional service, one can check the force of anger, which is detrimental to the process of devotional service. Srila Parikshit Maharaj said that constant hearing of the pastime of the Lord is the panacea for all material disease. Everyone, therefore, should hear about Supreme Personality of Godhead constantly. By hearing, one can always remain in equilibrium, and thus his progress in the spiritual life will not be hampered. Dhruv Maharaj's becoming angry with miscreants was quite appropriate. There is a short story in this connection about a snake who became a devotee upon instruction by Narada, who instructed him not to bite anymore. Since ordinarily a snake's business is to fatally bite other living entities, as a devotee he was forbidden to do so. Unfortunately, people took advantage of this non-violence on the part of the snake, especially the children who began to throw stones at him. He did not bite anyone, however, because it was instruction of his spiritual master. After a while, when the snake met his spiritual master Narada, he complained, I've given up the bad habit of biting innocent living entities, but when they're mistreating me by throwing stones at me, but they're mistreating me by throwing stones at me. Upon hearing this, Narad Muni instructed him, don't bite, but don't forget to expand your hood as if you are going to bite. Then they will go away. Similarly, a devotee is always non-violent, is qualified with all good characteristics, but in the common world, when there's mischief where when there is mischief made by others, he should not forget to become angry, at least for the time being, in order to drive away miscreants. Hare
Right?
Krishna.
Bhagavatam is giving crystal clear instruction. Krishna is giving. The devotee is non-violent, but you encounter mischief mongers in the material world. temporarily become angry just to drive away the mischief mongers. Right? Understand the instruction crystal clear that anger is very detrimental. That if you become angry, anger increases unlimitedly. So we do not have to become angry per se. Just become angry, like how Narad Muni said that to the snake, don't bite, but just show your hood as if you are going to bite. So you just become angry on mischief mongers in the material world, right? I'm not asking you to uh, take up a fight with anyone and everyone. What Bhagavatam is saying, you be a devotee as a non-violent. Everybody at workplace should know you as non-violent devotee with good qualities. But if somebody is mischief mongers, then stand up against them. Shreyanshi, everybody?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, one question on this, just a question, is that is it good to go in a new place? Because when we are inexperienced or when we are not anticipating the problem, that's when, such people as Kali, they come. Because probably the bull and the cow, they were not anticipating this would happen. So, gathering support or maybe asking someone experience.
Yeah,
This is
you
a
are
very
absolutely
difficult
correct.
problem.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct
Always
that find another place. So devotee virtually present among us actually encountered this very recently, that the workplace was very toxic. The people working there, the management, they were not rational people. So what are you going to explain to them? They are not rational to begin with. So the devotee quit the job saying, no, this is not my prescribed duty. It doesn't leave me time for spirituality at all. And plus, I am being disrespected there. So, yes, you can find place. Of course, the devotee also stood up properly, saying, okay, for whatever time I work, I need to be paid. I'm not here to give you charity. So the point is that you don't start a fight. But if you encounter mischief mongers, then stand up for yourself. Of course, you have to judge according to time, place, and circumstances that for the situation I described for this devotee, that those people were not rational to begin with. So what was the point in fighting? No, then the devotee simply quit. Correct decision. Follow me, everybody.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Anybody else
Prabhuji,
has?
but
Yeah, go ahead,
sorry,
Shreyanshi.
sorry, Prabhuji. But I feel like when you are into all this, there is a group, there is like a certain group, and it's everything is so indirect that at that point of time you do not understand. And what they want is for you to leave. Um, in the situation that you mentioned, that is totally ethical. But in other situation like mine, um, I I had to leave, but now I feel like when I'm in Krishna consciousness, maybe I could have like maybe gone into other department or maybe like done something else, but
Yeah.
it's done, it's
So
done.
yeah. So you have to judge according to time, place, and circumstances. Your prime focus is Krishna consciousness. You have to judge everything. You can't just judge one point. The more important point is the devotee that I am explaining. The devotee seeked guidance from the mother. Mother is a devotee. And when you are in that situation, it's very difficult for you to judge for yourself. So we have learned from chapter 1, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra are my intelligence. So that's what the devotee did. So that's what we all should do rather than relying on our own intelligence. So you have to judge. that what is appropriate for my Krishna consciousness. Fighting definitely is not appropriate. Can I switch to some other job that can give me peace of mind? So you have to judge. It's not a black and white answer to judge according to time, place, and circumstances, and then take action. But more important is following what we have learned. Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Shivaji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
All right. Question number 9. The cow is beneficial because one can draw religious principles from her. Could you please describe such religious principles? So let's read Bhagavatam 1.8.5. Ritu will read the purport that 5 groups of people should be protected. Ritu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Should I read the purport, Prabhuji?
Yeah, the purport, the first 5 points, the purport.
In the glorious days or before the advent of the age of Kali, the Brahmanas, the cows, the women, the children, and the old men were properly given protection. The protection of the Brahmanas maintains the institution of Varna and Ashram, the most scientific culture for attainment of a spiritual life. The protection of cows maintains the most miraculous form of food, that is milk, for maintaining the finer tissues of the brain for understanding higher aims of life. The protection of women maintains the chastity of society, by which we can get a good generation for peace, tranquility, and progress of life. The protection of children gives the human form of life its best chance to prepare the way of liberty from material bondage. Such protection of children begins from the very day of begetting a child by the purificatory process of Garbhadana Sanskar, the beginning of pure life. The protection of the old men gives them a chance to prepare themselves for better life after death.
Right? So, Prabhupada says, cows give you miraculous milk. Once you drink the milk, the finer tissues of the brain are purified. Then you can understand spirituality. Then you can understand the higher aims of life. So, all the spiritual topics that we are studying are possible for all of us to understand because our finer tissues in the brain are developed by honoring the miraculous cow milk. Does that answer the inquiry? Sumnima?
Prabhuji, I think we did discuss this previously, but cow milk as of today is not probably as miraculous as it was before, right?
You are correct that right now the cows are maintained in slaughterhouses, so the milk is not exactly the way it should be. Although here in Toronto there are few devotees who maintain farmhouse, they have huge challenges. It's an upcoming discussion in the next inquiry. So Sumnima, you are bang to the point, correct. It's not 100% miraculous like how it should be if the cow was maintained properly, that let first the calf drink the milk and then the cow will give you a lot more. Right now, what happens is the cow and the calf are separated so that the dairy industry or the slaughterhouse can take all the milk for themselves for selling, and then also slaughter the cow for further money. So you are correct, but still, whatever milk comes, it still is miraculous milk. It would be better if you can bring the milk from devotees who maintain the cows properly. So, Nima.
Yes, Babuji. Yes, thank you.
All right. So this discussion about cow will continue in the next inquiry. So question number 10, in Nepal, it's not just in Nepal, it actually is everywhere. The devotee is giving an example of Nepal. So in Nepal, when a male calf is born, we abandon him in like 2 weeks. And when cows stop giving milk, we also abandon her. People feel so guilty, but they have no other option. Everything is too expensive to maintain cows that do not give milk. For buffaloes and male buffalo calves, they are sent to slaughterhouses. So, what can we do to solve this matter? There are no more bulls as they are abandoned in early stage and no longer needed because they are now replaced by tractors for production. So in ISKCON, there is a department for cow protection, but this cow protection department has massive challenges because the dairy industry all over the world is very difficult to penetrate through. One time, I accidentally happened to attend a whole day meeting on this cow protection with many spiritual masters from this cow protection department of ISKCON, because the devotee who was supposed to drive all these spiritual masters to this meeting, which was a 3-hour drive from Toronto, that devotee had to drop off at the last moment. And His Holiness Bhaktimark Swami at the Toronto Temple came to me in the temple hall asking me to drive right now, because they were already late. So Bhaktimark Swami did not ask me, can I drive or not? He did not have any option. He just saw me. He knows I have a car. So he said, you are driving us right now. Well, okay, I did not know what was going on. So at this meeting, there were few devotees maintaining cows properly. They have farmhouses. And the devotees are wanting to sell cow milk, but the dairy industry would not let the devotees sell cow milk. So these devotees ended up leaving this farming business. Of course, there are few other devotees still around Toronto who continue to maintain farms and maintain the cows properly. And not too long ago, one sannyasi had written a message that if we all followed Srila Prabhupada's instruction from before to live a simple life, build farmhouses, then today we would have been much ahead than where we are right now for cow protection. So I agree that this is a major ongoing problem all over the world, not just in Nepal, and there is no solution in sight. Because of the cows being mistreated all over the world is one of the reasons for all the wars that are going on in the world. There are so many wars, it's one after the other, it just doesn't stop. So we'll read Bhagavatam 1.11.28, which lists 7 mothers, and cow is one of the 7 mothers. So let me bring up on screen 1.11.28. Raksha can read translation and purport.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Translation. After entering the house of his father, he was embraced by the mother present, and the Lord offered his obeisances unto them by placing his head at their feet. The mothers were headed by Devaki, his real mother. Purport. It appears that Vasudeva, the father of Lord Krishna, had completely separate residential quarters where he lived with his 18 wives, out of whom Srimati Devaki is the real mother of Lord Krishna. But in spite of this, all other stepmothers were equally affectionate to him, as will be evident from the following verse. Lord Krishna also did not distinguish his real mother from his stepmothers, and he equally offered his obeisances unto all the wives of Vasudeva present on the occasion. According to scriptures also, there are 7 mothers: the real mother, the wife of the spiritual master, the wife of a Brahmana, the wife of the king, the cow, the nurse, and the earth. All of them are mothers. Even by this injunction of the Sastras, the stepmother, who is the wife of the father, is also as good as the mother, because the father is also one of the spiritual master. Lord Krishna, the Lord of the universe, plays the part of an ideal son just to teach others how to treat their stepmothers. Hare Krishna.
Right, so there are 7 mothers. Our real mother who gives us birth, the wife of spiritual master, the wife of Brahmana, the wife of king, the cow, the nurse, and Mother Earth. So why we read this is in terms of the question saying about that this being costly, everything to maintain, the cows and the bulls. So for our birth mother, we do not say that you have become old, you are worthless. The same should be for cows, because cows also give us milk. But this is not happening right now. I understand that part. Srila Prabhupada has said that there is no need for economic development. Rather, live a simple life, have 1 cow for milk, grow your own fruits and vegetables in the backyard as much as is possible. But leaders right now are not Krishna conscious. Hence, they send cows to slaughterhouses and calling economic development as advancement, when actually spirituality is dwindling. So right now, without any intervention from higher powers, I personally cannot see a solution. Does that help with the inquiry, although there's no solution right now? Shivanji?
Rose, I would like to add a comment like materialistic people are so selfish that like cow is an animal. They don't even leave people like human beings. We human beings are so selfish that if if you're not getting something from somebody, we cut our relations. So what to say of a cow? And this is I'm telling from perspective of a family member. Like if they don't see your value, or they don't think like they are not getting what they want, if it's not of their interest, they cut off relations. So what to say of a cow? Like this is Kali Yuga.
Yeah, so you are correct. Bhagavatam describes that in Kali Yuga, family members will fight each other, that father and son will fight, husband and wife will fight, siblings will fight among themselves. You are absolutely correct. This is the symptom of Kali Yuga. And we have discussed that as devotees, we do not see family members as objects of our sense gratification. Rather, learn to see family members as devotees, serve the family members, and also serve Krishna together with family members. All right. Question number 11. When Srimad Bhagavatam 1.16.20 purport says there are acceptable sacrifices and goes on to talk about various kinds of food, it sounds like these verses are equating sacrifices with eatable items, not about chanting. Can you please clarify why there is so much discussion about eatables? So sacrifice means what I can use for myself, I sacrifice for higher authority. In Bhagavatam 1.16.20 is referring to Karma Kanda, demigod worshippers, which is also described in Bhagavad Gita 3.14, 15, 16. In 1.16.20 in the purport, Prabhupada references Bhagavad Gita 3.14, 15, 16, that by pleasing demigods, demigods will provide necessities of life such as rain. So Karma Kanda demigod worshippers will offer food items as sacrifice to demigods, and in return people on earth get necessities such as rain to grow grains. But all that is for Karma Kanda, those who are lower on the scale of yoga ladder. For you all Bhakti yogis, Sankirtan is the yajna. So chanting is the yajna. We have discussed in Bhagavad Gita 10.25. Krishna says, of the sacrifices, I am chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So you have to understand from the context that 1.16.20 is largely focused on Karma Kandya demigod worshippers. But proper devotees, they will follow Sankirtan as the yajna for this yoga. Does that help? Question number 13. Bhagavatam 1.16.20. What are these sacrifices that the demigods are pleased by? So as we just discussed, that each demigod has a different process of sacrifice, which are generally not known to the people who are actually doing demigod worship. So scriptures do provide for all those details, but we do not need to worry about these details because we do not focus on demigod worship. As devotees, we know from scriptures that demigod worship is not required. Demigod worship is avidhi purvakam, done in a wrong way. Rather, Sankirtan Yajna is the Yajna for Kali Yuga. So let's just focus on Sankirtan Yajna and learn from Prabhupada. If you actually read Bhagavad Gita, if you read, say for example, chapter 6, purports, that verse is talking about Ashtanga Yoga, but in the purports, Prabhupada is talking about Bhakti Yoga and Sankirtan. Completely opposite to what Krishna is saying in the verses, in the translation. How is Prabhupada doing completely different? Because Prabhupada is a pure devotee. Prabhupada knows the heart of Krishna. And we have discussed that the purports are also dictated by Krishna to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was just writing them down. So yes, if you actually read the purports, they are completely different from what the translation says. Translation says, do Ashtanga Yoga, focus, control your mind, blah, blah, blah. But then Prabhupada goes on to say that do Sankirtan Yajna. So that's what we should focus on. Question number 13. A neophyte devotee staying alone, unable to move outside. Neither an ISKCON center is nearby to her house, nor any known devotee is residing in the area. Can you please guide how she can avail devotee association? Very good. Very good compassionate nature you have. So although COVID disease was very tough on the whole world, the good that came out from COVID disease is that spiritual classes exploded all over the world via online classes, such as our class also. So before COVID, I myself used to conduct one class per week in person at the temple. Only Ramya from our dispatch and few more devotees used to be on phone calls from different phones of devotees who were attending the classes live in person, because back then we did not have all these facilities such as conference calls and no facility of Zoom, etc. But after COVID, that one class became so many batches and so many classes. So I request you that introduce our classes to this devotee who is looking for devotee association. One live example from our class is Ria. Ria being completely far away from devotee association in Australia. But Ria gets devotee association in our classes. Ria gets Srila Prabhupada's and Krishna's association via books and lectures, as well as we also have japa sessions, many other sessions. So there are various options already available. So the devotee who has asked this question, you can please set up a conference call with me and you and this devotee, and we can explain the online classes. Does that help?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Last question for today. Question number 14. While Lakshmi Ji, the goddess of fortune, whose glance of grace was sought by demigods like Brahmaji, and for whom they surrendered many a day unto the personality of Godhead, why did Lakshmi Ji give up her own abode in the forest of lotus flowers and engaged herself in the service of lotus feet of the Lord? Even Lakshmi Ji is wanting to be serving Lord's lotus feet. That's a simple answer. Does that help?
Yes, Prabhu.
Any questions, comments, realizations? So I will post next lecture in the chat and the link to complete your spiritual endeavors. All of you are doing great. Please continue to do it. Fine tune wherever you need to. And we will assemble next week. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Thank you,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.